So I am, first and foremost, I am beyond grateful for the opportunity that for in this season to be able to sit with you guys, to share with you guys, to just be your sister in this healing journey. I feel so blessed that God has called me to do this work. And over the last 12 months, we have authentically sat in a place of healing, of walking through what I believe God wanted us to do to be positioned for the next seasons of our life. And what I know for sure is that God doesn't do anything in vain. He doesn't call us to seasons into places and spaces without there ever being a reward. So I am super excited for really like the graduation of this program. And if God says the same, for some of you guys, this will be just a part one of the work that he wants us to continue to do together. For some of you guys, this will be us ending our relationship in this way, but we'll be able to partner in other ways. Some of you guys will go on to have conferences and go on to have podcasts and go on to write books, and I'll be able to forward your book. I'll be able to write endorsements for your book. I'll be able to speak on your platform and on your podcast, because the seeds that God has allowed me to plant into your life will lend a reward. So as we wrap up December 2023, our last coaching session of this part of the program, of our Esther Mastery program, I want to talk about how to do the work. So we have been reading a phenomenal book that really gives language to all the work that we have done over the years. Some of you guys have been rocking with me for years and years and years, and others of you guys have just been introduced to me. And whether we have been kicking it for a long time or we are new sisters, I want you guys to know that, one, I honor you, I appreciate you, I love you so, so very much. But two, I believe in you, and I know that you have everything inside of you to do the work, to continue to do the work, because this is a continual process. The word of God says that we will not be perfected until that which has fully come. When that which has fully come has arrived, we will be perfected beyond measure. So I want to start tonight off just talking about emotional addiction. This is one of the first things that captured me in the book. When I was listening to the book, she talked about an emotional addiction. And as a child of an addict, I know a lot about addiction, because although I've never been addicted to any types of substance, I've been addicted to certain things, and it causes like a psychosomatic thing to happen in our body. And so when I saw this term, it really did intrigue me. So emotional addiction is a term used to describe the excessive dependency on a particular emotion or feeling. For some of us, it's an emotion of sadness. Like, there are people literally addicted to being sad. For some people, there's an addiction to excitement. And so you always feel like you have to be, you guys know how when you're riding a roller coaster and you're going up and those butterflies are in your belly, and you know that there's this anticipation and there's this drop that's getting ready to happen. There's some people that if they're on in life, if they're on a roller coaster where it's just going steady, they feel like they're not really living life, because they're addicted to that excitement. There's some people that are addicted to like joy and happiness, and they feel like everything has to be that way. There's people that are addicted to anger, and they don't know how to operate in the world if they're not angry. So people who are emotionally addicted often find themselves craving certain types of emotions and may go a great lengths to experience this. This is when we have things like self-sabotage. I've been working really intently with this school in San Bernardino, California, and we have a particular student that had been removed from his parents' home, and he's been living group home to group home. And he AWOL'd. Like, so what I did is I emailed all the staff at this particular school and I said, you know, this student is not going to have a Christmas. Now, me and my family, we have opted out of traditional Christmas. We don't do no Christmas tree. We don't do none of that stuff. All I do is really, I get together with the people I love, and we do like gingerbread houses and hot cocoa bar and like get the kids together. But I don't do excuse me, my kids don't get presents. We just don't do that. We opt to do something different. But I do know that there are some kids that will never like, and the reason why I choose to do that is because my kids get stuff all year long, like all year long, they getting presents. So for this particular student, I knew that he hadn't gotten anything, and I noticed that he has been wearing the same thing over and over. So I sent an email to the staff and I asked if they would pitch in for us to get him some Christmas presents. What I really wanted to do is get him some clothes and get him some necessities that he really needed. I was able to raise over $400. The staff like really showed up and showed out and got this boy this stuff. So here I am. I'm like telling him, okay, get online, pick your stuff. We gonna, you know, get you what you need. Cause he's a teenage boy. I didn't want him to go buy him some stuff. And then y'all know how teenagers are. They ain't happy unless they chose it, right? You could literally go tell you could literally go pick something out for a teenager and they'll be like, that's ugly. And then they'll go get the same thing and be like, this is tight. This is cool. Boy, whatever, right? So I'm like, I ain't about to play this games with this little boy. So I'm about to sit him down and allow him to pick his clothes. He picks his clothes. The next day, he AWOLs from his group home and he's nowhere to be found. He stops coming to school. The last day before we go on Christmas break, he shows up and I looked him in the eye and I said, so you're just going to self-sabotage the rest of your life? And the tears started flowing. He was addicted to being disappointed. He's addicted to that emotion of like, nobody wants me. He's addicted to the emotion of I'm not enough. I'm not needed. I'm not seen. So he literally did something so he could experience that emotion again. Because in this moment with these teachers and myself telling him like, we see you, we love you, we value you, that was an unfamiliar emotion. And so he did everything in his power to make sure that he was able to experience the emotion that he's been addicted to. So of course, this can lead to negative consequences in our professional and personal lives, as well as it affects our mental and physical health. Okay. And at any point, you guys, if something I'm saying resonates or if you want to chime in, please just raise your hand. So here are some common types of emotional addiction. So there are people that are addicted to love, people that are constantly seeking romantic relationships, even if they're unhealthy or abusive. So they're just like, I want to be in love, right? And so they go, I know you guys all, if you have seen people, just put me in the chat. If not, if it's you, but if you've seen people and if it's you, we're going to continue to do some coaching around this. But if you have seen people that it's like every time you turn around, they got a different dude or a different woman in their life, but that woman act just like the same woman or a little bit different. That dude act like the other dude that they just had. And you like, dang, you just swapping them out, but you literally are dating the same person. You keep getting the same person. This is because they're addicted to love. And maybe because literally scientifically proven, and I've taught you guys this in one of our early trainings, science tells us that you can only feel that feeling of like butterflies instead of, this is science. What science tells us and what God tells us is something different, because science tells us that you can only feel that like high intensity emotion for 2 years. That's all that our brain and our body can feel. So many people that are addicted to love, the moment that feeling starts to fade away, because I could tell you I am in love. Listen, if Mr. Paul Thomas walked in here right now, y'all gonna see me give him a nice little kiss. I'm gonna look him up and down and be like, baby, okay. However, that feeling of like intense, like, oh my God, all of that, our brain can only handle 2 years of that. But that's what science tells us, but God tells us that we can continue to have that. In fact, the word of God, I was just reading, I think it's in Ephesians or Corinthians, that tells us we're supposed to desire our partner that much. Like we're supposed to be like, I can't wait to get my hands on you. I can't wait. Like, so that's different than being love addicted. But people that are addicted to love, the moment that the feeling starts to phase out, then they swap that one out and then they go get another one. Okay, another one, I talked about this, is anger addiction. Some people are so, and I think that there's women that deal with this, but particularly men as well, where they are addicted to anger and they're often lashing out at others and seeking situations that make them angry. So they're, I've seen people like at sporting events and stuff, and they like, looking for somebody to beef with, and it's like, just chill, like everything's okay. But they are so addicted to that adrenaline that happens when they're angry that they seek it. Drama addiction. So these are people that are addicted and they create conflict in their lives. So they often choose to harm themselves or others. So these are people, everything going right in their life, but they gonna text their sister, they gonna text their friend, girl, did you hear blah blah blah? Like they are so, if it's calm, if it's quote unquote normal, they can't handle that. So they seek situations to create drama. They do it at work, they do it at church, they do it in their families, they do it wherever they're at because they love that high intensity that happens with drama. These are your people. Don't tell nobody. These are your don't tell nobody folks. So they always telling everybody business, but they love to say don't tell nobody, right? Y'all know them people. I see you shaking your head, Sheree. We know them people, okay? Now, the other type of addiction is happiness addiction. While happiness is generally considered a positive emotion, some people, I don't know if you guys have ever heard this term, but it's called toxic positivity, where literally like they could have, I'm just going to say, like out here in Southern California, we've been dealing with like these severe rainstorms. So like, let's say and I think in Oxnard too, there was some flooding, right? So let's say there's some flooding, they car battery done got flooded out, they carpet, and they're like, it's okay. I wanted to get a new, no, like, right. Like I wanted to move anyways. It's fine. Like they're all like, toxic positivity is an addiction where they are literally always trying to seem like, now, of course, the word of God says that we can call things that are not as though they are, and we can see the brighter side of things whatsoever things are positive, whatsoever things are pure. But God showed us a whole range of emotions. Jesus, when he walked on earth, he showed us anger, happiness, sadness, bitterness. He didn't show us no bitterness, but he showed us a whole range of emotions. And so people that walk around addicted to happiness are emotionally immature. So how does emotional addiction affect us? If this is good to you guys, and if you guys are like, wow, like I didn't even get that from the book, but this is pretty dope, coach, and I'm glad that you were able to put that out. Put a 2 in the chat if you're like, man, this is making sense. It's helping me to identify some areas that I need to grow, but it's also helping me to identify people that I'm in relationship with. And so now I know why they act the way that they act. They're addicted to that emotion. So how does emotional addiction affect us? Point blank, period. It pulls us back into familiar chaos in our childhood. So if we grew up in a home where our mother always acted like everything was fine, she walking around with a black eye, daddy ain't came home in days because we already know he got another family, the lights got turned off, and she's like, we're just gonna light some candles and do a campfire, right? And so now we've picked that up, and now we're addicted to happiness because why? It brings us back to that familiar chaos in our family. If we grew up in a house where they believe like and yelling and screaming and everybody always angry, everybody always hostile, we're going to create situations if we don't heal. Now this is post-healing. This is post-healing because we now have the tools and we know how to do the work. We don't have to be addicted to these things, but it is very important to know why people are addicted to these emotions because it pulls us back to what's familiar. Here's something that I often hear people say. especially when they are love addicts. I hear people say things like, oh my God, I love him. I feel like I've known him my whole life. And I always be like, that's not a good thing. If you feel so familiar to them, that's not a good thing. One of the number one reasons I knew I was healing when it came to relationships is because with Paul, it was completely unfamiliar. It was unfamiliar. It's still every day is still unfamiliar. How calm he is, how he handles situations. Y'all, I have literally watched my husband in the last, I think his father has been living with us for about 90 days now, about 3 months. And this is a father that was not a part of his life in his childhood. Paul's dad was an absent father, but Paul is out downstairs bathing him. He's cooking for him. He's making sure his breakfast. He's giving him his pills. He is literally loving this man as if he's never been hurt. He is loving this man. I have never seen that before in my life. I was attached to people, and I was attracted to people that they mama was trash, my mama was trash. Now we trauma bonding. They had all this hurt and pain, and I had all this hurt and pain. Now we together. I have never been with someone that was unfamiliar. That's how I knew I was healing, because I wasn't drawn to the familiar. Paul was like nothing I never experienced before in my life. So that's just a note. If you taking notes, write that down. It's not good for it to be so familiar. Okay. Any questions on love addiction before I move on? I mean, not love addiction, but just emotional addiction. That's forgiveness right there. Sure enough is, says, okay, so one of the ways that we heal, Dr. Nicole talks about this bottom up processes. And I have been teaching you guys this, and I didn't even know what they were called, but I'm like, you got to do this and you got to do this, because it was just stuff that I did. It was really like trial and error. And so I'm going to go through some of the things as we're working on completely healing ourselves. And remember, we're not ever healed, ED, but we're always healing, ING. Here are some things that we can do as we're walking through the healing process. So body-centered therapies. So these are therapies that aim to release tension in our body, tension and trauma in our body, such as massages. So I want all of you guys, one of your faith action steps is I want you to Google self-massage. Now, y'all, I gotta say this ain't masturbation, y'all. This is literally like a carrion. This is like, is she still on? This is like what I told her to do with the yeah, she's here, with the putting the socks on your feet and rubbing yourself down with oil. Remember when I told, listen, sis, it changed your life, right? So doing things like that. So I want you guys to Google self massages, because yes, of course, we can go to the massage. And one of the things that I'm factoring into my life for 2024 is I want to be able to go once a month to the massage, but I also know how to do self massage. I see your hand, Carrie-Ann. I know how to do self massages, and this literally releases trauma and tension in our body. The other thing is body scanning. So I don't know if you guys remember when I told you guys, sit with your feet flat and go from your feet up, right? So how do my feet feel like? And even if you do it right now, like, I'm not going to take you guys through a whole body scan, but if you're able to just sit and put your feet on the ground and ground, you will start to feel like electricity going through your body, because you are telling yourself, I'm safe, I'm centered, I'm here. Right. And so you'll start to feel like these tingles in the bottom of your feet, because we don't do that. We don't check in with ourselves. So that is body-centered therapy, taking deep stretches. Now, the lady on in the book said yoga. I don't believe in yoga. I do not subscribe to yoga. I do not practice yoga. I don't do any yoga. What I do is stretching, right? So I do some deep stretching. As I'm stretching, I'm doing some deep breathing, and all of this releases blockages. So what I told Karen, and I definitely want her to share what I told her to do in our last one-to-one session, it released any traumas that was in her body, and it helped fuel, more relaxation. I think she said she slept better than she had slept in a long time. And it really helps us to get in tune with our body. Go ahead, Akirian.
So which one you want me to tell? So with the stretching, I haven't stretched. I am a very solid, stiff person. I don't stretch much. I've been stretching more since I was told to, but I I hold a lot of my pain in my lower body.
Mm,
A lot of it, especially in my hip pelvic area. And I just so happened to just okay, I was like, okay, I need to go to the gym that day. And I was like, I need to listen to what I was told for once in my life. So I went and I stretched. And I stretched for like 40 minutes. I
mm.
walked and I was like, man, oh, that ain't never did my leg trying to hurt. um, I stretched and I slept so good that night. I woke up without the pain I usually had been waking up with, and I was like, whoa, all I had to do was stretch.
That's
Literally all I had to do was stretch. And then with the sticky notes, Tamika had told me because I was feeling, yeah, I was in so much pain. I was I was in so, and it's so crazy because right now that same pain that I haven't had now, I haven't been having it, is trying to start up right now.
mm,
But I had so much pain in my groin. So where it just hurt to sit, it hurt to lay down, it just hurt to be.
mm.
And then I was having problems in my breast, like my breast was hurting. And it was like everything just started to hurt. My back was hurting, my whole left side. It just felt like I was just in pain. And she told me to go in to anoint my feet and attach healing scriptures to my feet. So I did that, but I went a little bit further because something that the mom told me to do a little bit more. So I put one in my bra, I put one in my underwear, and I slept. I slept with it, and I went through that whole day with them. So
Mm,
that point after the day, they had crumbled. So they weren't even there anymore. And that next day when I woke up, that pain had just completely released.
wow.
And my friend right now, her brother is currently in the hospital and he had to have a procedure to get something removed out of his mouth. And I guess whatever it was had torn and he was bleeding really bad. And he now has to have a trach so he can breathe because he couldn't out of his mouth. And she was like, he's not doing too good. And I've never seen my friend in that state, like ever. I'm usually the one who dealing with so much and crying and hurting. And so I told her to do it. I was like, he can't do it for himself right now. He can barely even talk. He can't move. He's still in his bed, and that's not like your brother. And I was like, your mom might not be able to mentally right now. And I was like, I know you're not like one of those real spiritual people. You're not really strong in your faith. But I was like, this, just do it for him.
Wow.
And I was like, I'll send you the scriptures I use. Like, just write them on a sticky note and put them on your feet. I was like, touch your feet and put them on your feet and sleep with them. I like go through the day with them. And I was like, I'll do it with you, which I did.
Mm,
Um, and she was like, he's doing so much better.
wow.
And I'm just like, because the day before she signed it, the way
Mm,
she was talking and the way she was saying things was like, that tone I've heard before, so it was triggering. And it sounded like the tone they used when my mom was, they pretty much gave up on my mom. So to hear that, it was just like,
wow.
you just, you just
Wow.
don't know. Like even with me being sick right now, I was thinking about it earlier. I was like, I need to put these scriptures back on my feet because ain't no way I just got sick out of nowhere.
Listen, it's just because what you did for your friend. So now the enemy tries to be like, "Oh, okay, well let me shut her up and get her sick again." But I'm telling you guys, it works. If you believe that you have the power to heal yourself, just put in the chat, I can heal myself. Because these are there. And of course, we know that it's not like we doing it all by ourselves. We're doing it with God, like with these God-centered strategies. We're doing it with these God-centered strategies. So body-centered therapy. So I want all of you guys just to put in the chat, out of these ones that I just said, which one are you going to try? The self massage, the body scanning, the deep stretching, because these are things, these are called bottom up approaches. So it allows the trauma that is in our body to be released. Okay, so the next portion is breath work. You guys know I have taught you guys many modalities of breath work, from the box breathing to the count into all, I don't know, go through the chat, I mean through our hub. I have taught many different breath, and maybe I'll do a video just on different type of breath work. But I was just telling so I do this at the school, y'all, and my kids are like, because my own children, I get to do like lessons with them once a month in their classrooms. And they be like, you out here teaching these kids how to praise God. And I said, and am, because I am a firm believer that every time we take a deep breath, we're praising God. We're telling him thank you for the breath in our body. New age people have tried to take it and pervert it, but this is a way for us to really practice it's almost like a rebirthing, right? Because the word of God says that it's the ruach of God. It's the literal breath of God. So it reduces stress, and it helps our overall well-being. So make sure, I've started this practice, and I tell my son, I tell my kids every time they go out before like a performance. My daughter does dance. My other daughter, she's like a senior in high school, so she's in the thick of like all her finals and applying for colleges and all that stuff. My son is a football player. My all of you, y'all know, all my kids is, they out here just being superstars. And I always tell them before they do anything, take a deep breath. Just take a deep breath. Like, it is literally like clearing, it reduces any stress, any anxiety. I mean, think about it. When anytime anybody's in a panic state, what is the one thing we tell them? Breathe. Breathe. So why do we have to wait to get to that panic state when we could literally regulate our body just by taking periodic deep breaths? Sometimes if I'm sitting in my car, but especially when I first wake up, that's one of the ways that I show gratitude to God for waking me up another day, is I just take a couple of deep cleansing breaths. Movement therapies. This is my favorite, y'all. So moving your body is a conscious and intentional way for us to heal. So we could do this through dance. I told y'all I like to drop something. I like to shake something. You might like the line dancing. So I like that too, right? I love to wobble or to do the Cupid shuffle. There's this one, I forget what it's called. I don't know if you know what it's called, Tosh, but it's like a Mexican line dance, and they do it, and then you go faster and faster and faster. I love that type of stuff. I love laughing. And these are others. So these are movement practices. Laughing, like y'all, do you guys know laughing heals us? Sometimes I'll sit up and I'll watch the babies laughing, like baby TikToks or baby reels or baby YouTube shorts with just babies laughing, because it makes me laugh, and then it literally starts to heal something inside of me. I love that. And then going out to play, y'all, we have to play. I be outside the other day, y'all, with my big old healthy self. I was about to say big old self, but I'm big and healthy. And I went outside and I raced this kid. Now, y'all, I cheated because he was gonna beat me. So I cheated and I said, ready, set. And then I went before go. And then I had my daughter. I was like, no, my daughter got, because she's a little track star. I said, I'm gonna have to tag her, and then she gonna finish the race. I said, only way I'm gonna race you is if we got a relay team, because I can't lose. Listen, I am not going to lose to no middle school boy. So I raced to him, and then he caught up to me, but then I passed, and I had so much fun. The people at the school were like looking at me sideways, and I'm like, just have fun, girl. I be out there playing tetherball with these kids. I be out there having fun with my own children. I try to play basketball, don't know nothing about basketball. I'll play football, I'll do it all with them. I love to color, do puzzles. Me and my husband, we play so much. We so silly. And it's healing something inside of him because my husband's very quiet. He's very reserved. But I'll catch him now doing a little, shaking a little something, because healing is what? Who can tell me what healing is? Put it in the chat if you know what healing is. Healing is definitely, I'm gonna wait and let y'all tell me what healing is. I done said it over and over and over. So all of these things help us release and connect to inner wisdom. Healing is contagious. That's it. Healing is contagious. So when we heal, we open up the door for other people to heal. And this also cultivates a sense of joy and freedom. When we do these movement therapies, it cultivates a sense of freedom and joy. Nature therapy. No, listen, I done heard so many people, I ain't going outside. I don't like bugs. I don't like, and I get all of that, y'all. I get it. I get it. I get it. But people don't know that God has literally put everything in nature that we need to heal. So spending time in nature has been shown to have numerous health benefits. Like if I had a list of all the benefits that come from spending time in nature, you'll be like, forget them bugs. Let me go put on some off and spray some off and forget them bugs. Okay. But it reduces stress, it boosts our mood, and it improves our cognitive function. Every time I have an idea and I can't fully figure out what the idea is, I'll go take a walk. Going to take the walk and I get a flood of information. We've talked about this extensively in our coaching program, but sitting by some water. Sitting by some water will it'll activate something so deep inside of you. Going for a swim, sitting in the ocean, gardening, like literally putting your hands in soil is so therapeutic. Sometimes I'll just go stand outside. I listen to my body because I do those body scans, and my body will go say, go barefoot. Yes, as a whole Black woman, I'll be standing outside barefoot with my bare feet. And I wish somebody would say something to me. Now, listen, I do it because my body needs to be connected to God's earth, and I need to feel the sun on my skin. Y'all see me. Y'all see how pale I am right now. Listen, that's vitamin D. Okay. I need all the sun I can get. And so I love it. I love this. These are nature therapies. These are things that we need to do to continue to heal. Mindful practices. Now, of course, this is like us sitting and listening to our thoughts and our emotions without judgment. Adding an extra layer to that is grabbing one of your journals, y'all. I got so many journals. I don't know how my husband deal with me, because my whole side of the bed, y'all, is just filled with different journals because I have a journal for every single thing. But I want to encourage you guys, faith action step, get you a blank journal and title it your future self journal. This is one of the things that the lady talked about in the book. And we can journal to the woman that we want to be. We can talk to our future self because God has already, listen, he already got her. He already know who we going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 2 years from now. So why not co-create with God? Why not, put our faith into action and do that with God? So cultivating a mindful practice releases stress. It develops a greater self-awareness, emotional regulation, compassion for ourselves and others. Okay, so moving on to the next section. We're doing good on time. Any questions, comments, concerns on that part of the different therapies that we can do to help us heal?
I have a question about the journal.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you said to write it to your future self.
Mm-hmm.
What if you don't know what you want your future self in the nature of I guess for me, I've always been told been told by my family that my self was my career.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's something like I feel like a lot of times I struggle with because I feel like, well, when people be like, well, who do you want to be in 5 years? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I hear you. So what I want you guys to do with the dear future self is to scale back, right? So this is what this looks like. Let's say, because we all have these emotions and these moments. Let's say you wake up one morning or one day or it's a week worth of like pain. I'm going to use that for an example, right? So you wake up and you're in this intensive amount of pain. So what you would say is, dear future Akirian, that is healthy living without pain. I love you so much for navigating this season and for not allowing the pain to stop you, but for being healthy, whole, and being able to take deep breaths, being able to stretch deeply, like whatever the things that, like the areas of your body that you're feeling pain, you're writing to your painless self. Let's say it's yourself that is struggling financially. Dear future, financially stable, abundant Tamika, thank you so much for learning how to save, learning how to give, learning how to. Does that make sense? Does everybody, if everybody understands that? Oh, come on, dear future husband, listen, because why not? Okay. Does everybody understand that? Put a 1 in the chat if you're like, oh, I get it now. I get how to journal to my future self. Okay, perfect, perfect, perfect. So I want everybody to incorporate that. And it's something that I am going to start to, and in fact, I think I did do a dear future self journal, and this is something that I've kind of already done. It's just like our, when we're showing gratitude. So when we're doing my gratitude practices, I always say what I'm grateful for, even if it hasn't come yet. So I'm grateful for the contracts that I get with school districts. I've never gotten a contract with a school district, but I already say that I'm grateful for that. Tashika, go ahead, sis.
So another thing, I have did it a while back, and what I did separately on the side was also write down some things that I can do, like to change to be my future person that I'm trying to be. So what I did was, for example, how you said, um, I'm gonna just use something different. So walking into my purpose or whatever, what are some things that I have to change in order to get to what purpose that I'm looking for in the future? So I had like, what I did was I took a piece of paper, like a huge one, because I had to draw a line down the middle, and I put all of the things that I wanted to accomplish or wanted to be in the future. And on the other side of the paper, I put, how can I get there?
Hmm.
And it actually helped me out, to see what I seen in myself that I needed to change or heal from, or believe in a little bit stronger.
That's dope. I love that. I want to incorporate that, you guys. So let's make that a faith action step too. So when you grab your journal, just write down everything to your, before you even start your future self journal. So just write all the things that, who you want to be, and then what ways can you get there. But then also make sure that daily, or monthly or weekly, you're journaling to her. So I typically do it when I'm in a stuck place. So wherever, like, I've been writing to my dear future sexy self. I'm already sexy, y'all, but I want to be sexy and like thin. And well, I don't want to be thin. I ain't never been thin. Let me stop lying to myself. But I'm gonna be, sexy and fit and all that good stuff. So I'm writing to her. And so now, because I'm already talking to her, I'm calling things that are not as though they are. It helps me to not put all the cookies in my mouth, right? To only put 1 or 2 in my mouth. So it helps me to do those things. Let me see what you say, what you guys say. Hope that makes sense. No, it made perfect sense, sis. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, so what before we could heal, let me see, let me go back. Okay, so before we can continue to walk through this healing process, it is so imperative for us to recognize our biases, recognize and acknowledge them. So all of us have them, but here are 2 that keep us stuck. And she talked about this in the book, confirmation bias. So what confirmation bias is it is a bias that occurs when people favor information that confirms their pre-existing belief. So I want to give you the example that she used in the book. And this is something that I also call the law of proximity. So this is like, let's say you are like, you want my car that I believe when I get this car, I'm gonna be like, Mama, I made it. Okay. It is a red BMW. I don't know the series and all that stuff, but I know I want a red BMW. I don't know why, y'all, but I seen this in the vision years ago. And when I'm able to purchase that car, I'm gonna feel like you did that, sis. Now, okay, so now because I have this in my cognitive mind, in my mind, cognition only means mind, right? So now that I have this in my mind, what ends up happening is now I'm going to see 50,000 people with a red BMW. And I'm be like, dang, everybody got a red BMW, right? I'm going to go drive by a lot in the car in the showroom, the car in front of the driveway gonna be a red BMW. My neighbor gonna buy a red BMW. When I'm driving down the street, I'm gonna see 10,000 red BMWs. Put a 2 in the chat if you like. Oh my God, that happens all the time. Or you're like, oh my God, I'm hungry. I want a sub sandwich. And then it feel like you ain't never known that there was no Jersey Mike right there. But now all of a sudden, you done smell the Jersey Mike, you see the Jersey Mike, right? So that is confirmation bias. This becomes dangerous. So that is it. That's a very powerful thing because confirmation bias helps us to achieve certain things, but it's very dangerous when it distorts our thinking and our decision making. And we have to be very aware of the potential impact that it has on preconceived judgments. So here is where confirmation bias can be dangerous. So like with politics, right? And I never got into politics. I ain't never gonna get into politics, and I ain't never gonna tell y'all nothing about politics. But when we are like, confirmation bias plays a big part, like in political spaces, when all you see is certain news stories that confirm your own prejudices, your own judgments, your own political beliefs. Social media, you know, the algorithm is really good at confirmation bias because you watch one pimple popper video, now everything in your feed is the pimple popper. You like that? I just like one, right? That's all you see. And it dismisses or ignores information that challenges our beliefs. So confirmation bias is dangerous when the information that we're receiving does not challenge our own belief. It is so important for us to get a wide range of information and not just so narrow-minded, because that keeps us in a box and that keeps us stuck. In relationships, so I already kind of talked about this, but when another way that confirmation bias shows up is when now let's look at this. Let's say me and Paul was beefing. Let's say me and y'all listen, we're gonna start calling him Coach Paul, okay? Because baby, I'll tell y'all that later. Okay, so let's say me and Coach Paul is beefing. And now all of a sudden, all I could see is he done left his clothes in that corner in that bathroom that I told him I told him I don't like meatloaf, and he made meatloaf. Oh, I told him that I have a sore throat. He didn't buy the cough drops. So now only thing that I could focus on is the negative aspects of the things that he's doing, because that's my confirmation bias. My confirmation bias is telling me he don't really love me. He don't want me. He doing stuff to make me mad. He's doing stuff to piss me off. And that's because that's what's highlighted. And it distorts my reality. It distorts what's really going on. On the opposite side, you could have somebody that's really raggedy, ain't no good for you, but all you could see, because your confirmation bias is telling you, I love this person, I want this person, I want to be in a relationship. So you dismiss all the red flags because you want this person so much. If that makes sense, put a 3 in the chat. Negativity bias. So this is another bias that we have to be aware of. And this is a powerful force that affects our lives in many ways. It can impact our relationships, our wealth, our wealth, our work, our health, and our overall well-being and happiness. Here's the thing about negativity that a lot of people will not tell you, but I'm going to tell you. Negativity can sometimes be a catalyst for positive change. For example, when I stepped on the scale and I saw that I was at a weight that I feel is negative, that I feel is unhealthy, it is a catalyst for me to get my butt in that gym, for me to do the intermittent fasting, for me to be, hey, baby, how are you? Love you. Yeah. She's going to her friend's house. He just makes me melt. Okay. Negativity can sometimes be a catalyst for positive change, because for me, stepping on that weight, on that scale, it's a negative thing, right? So I'm like, okay, let me do something about it. I'm not going to just sit here and allow it to affect me. But it's dangerous when all we see, when we have like this negative mindset. So how do we combat that? We practice gratitude. So we have a solid gratitude practice. We take time each day to reflect on things that we are grateful for, no matter how small. I wanted to share with you guys some of the things that I wrote out today that I'm grateful for. And these, because I think some people think like having a gratitude practice, oh my God, that takes so long. That's literally, I take like 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, and I just put it on paper on what, y'all? I put it on paper on what? So
on purpose.
On purpose, period. Okay. So I put it on paper on purpose. So today I said, I am grateful for my mom. We don't have the greatest relationship, but I'm grateful that I have her. So I'm grateful for my mom. I'm grateful for my robe. Y'all, I said, because listen, that robe be robing. And I'm like, I am so grateful for my robe. I am grateful for my doctors. Like, I am grateful that God allowed people to have the mindset to be a doctor. And then I went into my, and so this morning I only did 3 small little things, right? I could have said I'm grateful for the house, for the breath in my lungs. Now, some days, the day before yesterday, I can't tell y'all what I said the day before yesterday, but listen, it involved Coach Paul. Okay. I said I am grateful for, but I did say I am grateful for the word of God. I am grateful. I hope my kids don't ever find this journal. I am grateful for my business that's growing. That's to my future self, y'all. I'm grateful for water. I'm grateful for warm blankets. So I find gratitude in the small things, because when I do that, when life happens and when life hits, because life be life, and we already know that, when I do that, when I'm grateful for the small little things in my life, it makes the big things that happen not seem so big. The other thing that we can do to combat negativity bias is surround ourselves with positive people. It is so important that we're in spaces like this, where we're in spaces where we're having a hard time, Sade, when we're having a hard time, but we still push through, and we surround ourselves and we hear people's stories of happiness and breakthrough and things that come through. Everybody that's sitting in this room tonight has had a moment where they wasn't happy, and they came to the session with some bad news, and they came like not feeling 100. But at the end of the session, we all left empowered and impacted. Why? Because we sat in these types of spaces. Seek people that are positive, that are supportive, that are uplifting, that spend less time with negative, toxic people. Take care of yourselves. This is how we combat negativity. Negativity can often be a sign that you're not taking care of your own self properly. Make sure you are getting enough sleep. Rest is what? What is rest, y'all? What did we determine that rest was? Rest is a weapon. Rest is a weapon. So make sure you're getting the right amount of sleep. Make sure you're eating properly. Make sure you're exercising regularly. Make sure you are taking care of your physical health. This boosts your well-being, and it helps combat negativity. All right. And then challenge those negative thoughts. Tosh put something so powerful in the chat when she was responding to Cherie's video, and she said, girl, you are worthy. You are worthy, y'all. Go back and read that worthy book. I started it all over again, and I'm like, dang, this book is good. Tashika, if you haven't read it, it is in the hub. I'm not sure. I think it's like towards the healing section, or maybe it's in the bonuses and the resources. If you guys have not finished it, because that's another like dense read, but I'm gonna your faith action step is for the rest of 2023, and the first month of 2024 is to read Worthy. Read that book. It is so good, and it will challenge any negative thoughts that you have about yourself. And then remember, our upstairs, I taught you guys this in one of our training, our upstairs brain and our downstairs brain. That downstairs brain loves that fight or flight. That's that negativity. It gets stuck, that trauma gets stuck there. So we have to ask ourselves, is that even true? We have to constantly, when we're having a negative thought, when we're having a negative moment, we have to ask ourselves, is that even true? Let me see what y'all talking about in the chat. Y'all laughing at me. Okay. I will put it in the cart tonight. And or no, sis, it is in the hub. It is free. I've already it's called Worthy. It's in the hub. I will actually when I send out the email with the recording, I'll put the link for you guys to go ahead and you guys can read it, like right on your computer, right on your phone. It's in the hub already though. So you don't have to go and order that one or buy it. The first book, I gave it to you guys for free. So yes, is it even true? Is it even true? Is it even true? Ask yourself that when you're challenging negative thoughts. And then shout out to Akirian, because she put the book that we are reading this month. She found the audio on YouTube, and listen, shout out to her for being resourceful, because a lot of stuff is free, y'all. It's right at our fingertips, but because we don't want to go the extra mile, we don't want to look it up, we just like, oh, Coach Tamika gonna sign another book and I ain't got no money. Don't she know that these books cost, it's like $9.99 each book? Listen, she said, you know what, I'm about to go on this Good Here YouTube and see if I could find the book. And she found the book for free. There was another book that I probably half the books that I've assigned you could find on YouTube. But now that you found it, are you going to really listen to it? Are you going to implement the things that the folks is talking about? So shout out to her. Thank you, Akarian, for doing that. Okay, thank you, sis. Tosh said Worthy is under her resources. If y'all look under her resources in the hub, a wealth of information is in the hub. So make sure you guys are digging into that. Let's see. All right. So any questions on our biases that we have, our biases that we have? Any questions on that section? Y'all, thank you for rocking with me. I'm going to try to wrap this up within the next 30 minutes. So stay with me. Okay. So our next is our inner child archetypes. Let's see. Look at Tosh. Y'all, shout out to our community manager, because she be managing. Okay. She be in these healed streets managing. That's why I mess with her. Okay, so inner child, you know what, y'all? I just want to say thank y'all for y'all letting me be me, because I be holy. 1 minute I'm crying and speaking in tongues. The next minute I'm over here googly-eyed over my husband. And then I'm out here prophesying. And then I'm out here teaching my little heart out. And y'all rock with me. And so I just want to thank y'all for allowing me to be authentically me. Cherie always tells me she like loves how transparent I am. And that's one thing I will never, ever, ever change. And I am so grateful that I'm in spaces like this. Whether I'm in a room full of white men, I'll be like this. And they be like, you're so flirty. And I'm like, I'm not trying to entertain you. I'm trying to heal you. Okay. Anyways. All right. So the inner child archetypes. So the caretaker. A lot of us take on this role. This is typically the firstborn, but you could be born in any order in your family, but this is the one that always wants to take over everything. Now, y'all, my inner child is definitely the caretaker. I was and I continue to be this, and sometimes I allow her to flow, but I've gotten so much better. But the way you know if this is your archetype, you are the one, you could be at somebody's whole wedding that you don't even know these people. You just kind of got invited to the wedding, you the +1, and you cleaning up. And it's like, why are you doing that? Like, that is not your job. That's me, y'all. I am the one. I was just at my daughter's Christmas party, and I was like, let me go ask them if they need help. And my own kids was like, no, sit down, stop, right? Because I am the caretaker. I am the one that always cares for other people. This is something that I am actively healing, that I'm actively working through. The overachiever. This is the person that's the other one that I was telling you that I wanted to highlight, Carrie. This is the one that if they've gotten all A's but 1 B, they feel like a failure. If they've gotten a 90% and not 100% on something, they feel like they're a failure. We have to be, if you are a parent, put me in the chat, because as I'm talking to you guys about this, I want you guys to think about this book. This part of the book challenged me, and it challenged my parenting style, because there are times, and listen, if you ain't got no babies, but you know God is about to bless you with some, put a me in the chat, because this is about to be our leap year. You heard me? This is about to be a supernatural leap year. So if you know that God told you you're going to have some kids, put a me in the chat, okay? So this part of the book challenged me because I expect excellence out of my kids, so I had to make sure that I wasn't putting any unrealistic expectations on them and causing them to fall into one of these archetypes. Here's the thing. No matter how great of a parent you are, and I believe that I'm the best, I believe that I'm sitting in a room full of great mommies, we are going to do something to make our kids fall into one of these archetypes. It's just human nature. So it's not like you could avoid it all the way, but they won't have to do the same deep, intensive work that we had to do, because we've already done that for them. But the overachiever. So as you were talking to Carrie Ann, I remember, I think maybe at the beginning of this year or last year, Tasha found one of my, report cards. I don't even know how it was at her grandma's house. I don't know how her grandma got it, but she found one of my report cards, and she sent a picture to me, and it really healed my overachiever, because I also have the overachiever architect, overachiever architect. Yes. So I am the one that have written 3 books in a year and done all this extra stuff, right? And her sending me that, because in the on the report card, it said something about like how I don't know what it said, but it was like a really good report card. And I had held this idea that I wasn't smart as other people. I had literally held that because my dad often told me that. So I developed the overachiever architect. The underachiever architect, this is the person that likes to stay in the shadows. This is the person that everybody else is better than them in their mind. They won't raise their hand even if they have the answer. They won't speak up because there's somebody that has a bigger personality. The caretaker or the overachiever is usually being highlighted. So they just kind of stay in behind, and they only do the bare minimum. They don't push themselves because, that's just who they are. Other people in their family have always excelled, so they stay behind. And then there's the rescuer. So this is the person when it's a funeral, when it's a family tragedy, when it's a birthday party, when it's you feel like you got to be there for everybody. You always the one that they call. You always the one that answers. It don't matter if it's dark 30, you gonna answer your phone. You gonna be there for everybody. You gonna be the one that get up in the middle of the night and pick on your shoes and go to the hospital and sit with Aunt May that you ain't talked to in 15,000 years, because you're the rescuer. You got to do that, right? And then there's the life of the party. So this is the one that they out here, they turned all the time. And they have literally created their persona and their identity around being the happy one. This is the toxic positivity person. This is the person that always is happy. They always ready for a good time, because they're masking a lot of pain through the partying. And then there's the yes person. This is the one that is much like the rescuer. They always say yes to everything. They don't even know how to say yes to them, to their own kids. They don't, or how to say no to their own kids. They don't know how to say no to themselves. They don't know how to say no to bosses and to friends and to anybody. They're always saying yes to everybody. And then there's the hero worshiper, which I think is all of them are dangerous, but the hero worshiper is very dangerous. So this person feels like they need a coach, they need a trainer, they need a guru. Everybody got the answers except for them. So they always feel like they have to look to somebody more professional, more better, more skilled, more knowledge, more educated. And they don't feel like they have all the answers within themselves. These are the people that are always going to their pastor for the answer or their bishop for the answer, instead of seeking God and knowing that they can go to God directly. This is the person, oh, I'm gonna call bishop so-and-so or prophetess such and such to pray for me because they know how to get to heaven. Listen, somebody put in the chat, there's no such thing as no junior Holy Ghost. So if you got the Spirit of God dwelling inside of you, you can go directly to the Father, and you don't need no hero to worship you. Okay. So what I want you guys to do, and I love that Tasha said that was me. That was me, because we are letting go of these architects and we are living a healed life. But as I went through these inner child architects, if you were able to identify what architect maybe you follow under, I want you to put that in the chat and then say, I was, in big bold letters, capitalized, I was a caretaker, I was the overachiever, I was the rescuer, I was the underachiever. Whichever one you feel like you fell into, let's say which ones we were, because we're not those things anymore, but we were those. This is confirmation. I was just telling someone about this. Pray to get to know God for yourself. That's right. I was the yes person.
I have another question. Sorry.
Ma'am, go ahead.
So what if you were every architect?
Very possible. Very possible. As I was listening to her talk on these, I was like, geez, I see a little bit of myself in all of them. And most of us can probably see ourselves in a little bit in all of them. But there's maybe one or two that you're like, oh, that's really me. Like I tend to be more than this or the other. Now, if you're like, across the board, I'm all of these, that means that you got to do a lot, continue to do a lot of work, because you're split. And that also means that you have what I call a flamingo personality. Not a flamingo, a chameleon personality. And so you're able to, you mold and you change to whoever you're around and whatever other people need you to be. So you become what other people need you to be instead of who God has called you to be. And so homework assignment for those of you that are like, geez, I see myself in all of these and I see myself strongly in all of these. I want you to ask God, who has he called you to be? Who are you? Who are you to him? Because once you start to see who you are to God, you're able to let go of these archetypes. Does that make sense, Akarian? Okay, perfect. So moving right along and away from the archetypes and into ego stories. So I'm gonna go briefly through ego stories, but we all have an ego story. And anybody that tells you, I don't let my ego operate me, I don't let, they're lying, because all of us do. And when I learned, this is the part of the book that I was like, I'm about to turn her off. She talking nonsense. Like, I got mad at her. Y'all know how sometimes y'all be getting mad at me when I be on y'all head. That's how I felt in this part of the book, because I was like, geez, I did not realize that I have an ego story, because I feel like I'm pretty humble, I'm pretty blah blah blah, but I want to tell you guys the definition of ego story and how all of us sometimes allows it to control us. So our ego stories are often the tales of our accomplishments and our success. So whether it's sometimes your accomplishments are you the only one that took care of mama, you the only one that stayed in that city and lived with grandma and took care of like whatever that accomplishments are to you, right? While it is natural to feel proud of ourselves, and we want to share our accomplishments, too much focus on the ego can be detrimental. Too much focus on self. So anytime we are focusing on self, so for example, like I said last week, we had a father that was like, you don't care about my son. This man looked me dead in my face and told me I don't care about his son, when I have like bought this boy. Well, I have done so much for this boy to try to make sure that he's healing and he's successful. When that man said that, I nearly jumped in his car and was like giving him a piece of my mind, because my ego is telling me I don't let nobody talk to me crazy. My ego is telling me I better protect myself. My ego is telling me, you know what you did for this kid. Now you're gonna tell him, you're gonna break this boy confidentiality, and you're gonna tell this daddy all this stuff that you've done. That was my ego. My ego was like just shining through, right? It was just shining through. Did Sheree have another call to get on? Oh, I love you too. I love you so much, Sheree. Thank you for being here. So, our ego stories, hold on. Our ego stories can be a boost of self-esteem. So for me, it's like, oh, Tamika told him, she showed it, right? And so that was a boost of my self-esteem of like, oh, she don't let no, she ain't never scared. Like, why do I need that? Why do I don't need that, right? I shouldn't need that. I should move past it. However, if we rely too heavily on, and this is what it does, our ego stories gives us validation from other people. And I have said it over and over and over and over again. Why are we seeking validation from people that are not even valid? Validation is for parking, and there ain't no cars in here. So when we rely too heavily on external validation, we become trapped in a cycle of constantly seeking approval from other people. So that's what our ego story does. It gets us in this trap of like, oh, she the one, whether it's like the way you dress, the way you, like whatever that thing is that inflates our ego, we will continue to do that because we're getting validation from people, but we have to slowly let go of our ego. Ego stories, they cause us to be limiting in our beliefs and our accomplishments. We can never see the next thing that we're supposed to do because we get stuck in what we've already done. All right. Things that we need to watch out for when we're healing. Trauma bonding. Trauma bonding is not only in romantic relationships, but trauma bonding happens in friendships. It happens in churches. I've seen people go up to the altar every single Sunday because they are trauma bonding, because they get some type of satisfaction by everybody being like, oh, she's repented, oh, she's delivered, oh, she's blah blah blah. They get some type of satisfaction when all of their friends have been molested, all of their friends is going through a divorce, all of their friends have been abused, all of their so we can trauma bond with at workplaces, right? So sometimes we'll tend to get into workplaces where they don't pay enough, right? And so now all of us is just like slaves, right? And we working so hard and we doing so much and we don't get paid. So we can trauma bond in many different areas. So we have to be very, very hyper aware of trauma bonding. And then boundaries, y'all. I have talked to y'all dang near every single session since January 2023 about the importance of boundaries. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. Now we know that there's rigid boundaries, there's loose boundaries, and then I like how she talks about it in the book. I call them healthy boundaries. She calls them flexible boundaries. I love that. And we need to make sure that we are operating through healthy and flexible boundaries and that we're not too rigid and we're definitely not too loose. So these are things that we have to constantly have at the front of our mind. If you're meeting a new person at the gym, at, a new friend you going on a walk with, be careful of why you so attached to this person. Is it a trauma bond, or is it somebody that is like Elizabeth that makes your baby jump, right? Elizabeth and Mary. What is this person to you? But be very aware of that. All right, let's see. Okay, this is our last portion for the night. And this is the important, I think so. This is reparenting. So reparenting is a psychological term that describes the process of healing and addressing emotional wounds that have happened in our childhood. So I've talked to you guys. I think I did a whole ebook on reparenting. I know I did 3 or 4 or 5 sessions on reparenting. Reparenting helps us with things like self-compassion. So many of us, if you know that you are way too hard on yourself, put a 7 in the chat. If you know, like, I'm so hard on myself. If you're so hard on yourself, you have to start to reparent yourself. This involves learning to be kind and passionate towards yourself. This means recognize those negative messages. Is it even true? So you're able to heal from those things that happen in childhood and set realistic, positive goals and expectations on yourself. You have to do the inner child work. Identify those architects. Identify what your child needs. Play. Do all of those things. Write letters to your younger self. Face action step. I think we're at number 4. I want all of you guys to write a letter to your inner child. We've done it before, but now that we've healed to this area, I want you guys to do it again. Write that letter to your inner child. Do a visualization technique, y'all. I have the inner child visualization in the hub. Do that this week. Listen to that inner child visualization and start learning to talk to yourself and treating yourself in a loving and healthy way. Set healthy boundaries. So reparenting yourself means when to say no and when to prioritize your own well-being, which is you always put yourself. Listen, the only person that is above me is God. So it's God, me, my husband, my kids. No one comes before me, not even my husband, and I love him dearly. But how can I put him in front of me if I'm not putting myself first? I can't give him what he needs. I have to serve and love from a full cup. So I have to make sure that I'm putting myself first. Developing self-care practices, y'all. This is another topic that I've talked about extensively. So exercising, spending time in nature, all of those things. Play. You have to know how to play. This is my prescription. This is my prescription to all of you guys. Play. Find a day every day for the rest of your life that you're playing. Whatever play looks like to you. If you got kids that play video games, you may go in there and jump on a video game. Sometimes I do that with my kids and I die in the first 5 minutes, but I be in there screaming, because I don't play no video games no more, right? So I be playing, but I do it and I have fun and I'm interacting with my kids. Sometimes it's my kids showing me TikToks and we laugh, cracking up, laughing at their TikToks. Sometimes it's me playing, with Coach Paul in a playful way, y'all. Y'all get your head out the gutter, right? So, but just playing, like you have to learn how to play. The other thing is become self-conscious. It is so important for us to be aware of who we are. This is when we know, like, okay, I'm like in here, I'm doing the work when we are self-conscious. I have one more, y'all rock with me. I believe this is the last part, because as we do the work, as we have literally spent a year together, for some of you guys have literally been with me for a year, some of you, we become emotionally mature. So emotionally maturity is a critical aspect of our personal development and our growth, and it's often overlooked. It refers to an individual's ability to regulate our emotions. We have to be able to regulate our emotions. We do this by self-awareness. So we remember our triggers. Remember, our triggers happen in our senses. What do we see? What do we smell? What do we taste? What do we feel? What do we hear? Because that is what causes us to have triggers. When we're paying attention to, oh, I ate that ice cream and it reminded me of that time my weird uncle said something to me, right? oh my gosh, I just watched this movie. What did I see? I just watched this movie that brought me back to my childhood. Me and my husband were talking about, or who was I talking to? I think I was in a coaching session, and she said, oh yes, I was in a coaching session, and this lady, she owns her own cleaning business. And she said that her client in her cleaning business was sitting on the couch while she was cleaning, right? She's cleaning this lady's house, and the lady done paid her a good amount of money. And she said her 15-year-old self showed up, and she just like broke down crying, because she's like, oh my God, my aunt used to make me clean people's houses. And so that's the only reason why I started doing this, is because I was forced to do it. So what do you feel? What do you like? What brings you back to those emotions? And this awareness enables you to take responsibility, and it prevents you from them affecting you negatively. Control your emotions, y'all. It is imperative that we learn. I've taught all my kids, and I've taught you guys to master okay, and not master okay in a way that you're denying your own feelings. But somebody put in the chat, I ain't got to go to every fight that I've been invited to. You don't have to. When people a doggone fool and they act like they ain't got no good sense. Okay. 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 How many ways can you say okay, right? Just tell them okay, because you are controlling your emotions, and you are not allowing them to rile you up and to get you all crazy. And so this helps. This is a constructive way of us, rather than lashing out and becoming overwhelmed, but really just controlling ourselves, showing empathy for ourselves and others. This helps us build healthy relationships. This resolves conflict. And this, again, shows compassion towards ourselves. And then I think one of the biggest parts of emotional maturity is learning how to communicate effectively. So this helps us to communicate our skills, our abilities, expressing ourselves clearly. One of my daily prayers, you guys, is for God to season my word with salt. So I always want what is coming out of my mouth to make sense. I want people to understand me. I lived a lifetime of feeling like I'm misunderstood. I would be, oh, they just misunderstand me. I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like people clearly understand what I'm saying because I asked for it. I'm like, Lord, season my words with salt. I want to be able to communicate effectively. That's in whether I'm posting on social media, that's when I'm doing these trainings with you guys or with other people, whether I'm at a school with little kids or big kids or grown people. I want to communicate effectively. And because I am emotionally mature, I am able to communicate effectively. Being adaptable. Emotionally mature people are flexible. We're not married to one way of thinking or doing anything. We are able to adjust to new situations and learn from new experiences, and maintain a positive outlook while doing so and facing adversity. So, I done talked for dang near 2 hours. I love you guys. I am so grateful that you guys have allowed me to journey on this journey with you. I am going to stop the recording and tell you guys. Tasha, are you able to stop the recording? Let me see. I think I can.